Chris, welcome. How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to see you again. And, it's one of these things where, as you were saying, there were so many of us in those early days who got connected through these tweet ups and, in different cities too. I think we met each other at one that Alex did down in Miami. And then a couple months later, we came back and we had that sushi up in Palm Beach or North Miami Beach or somewhere up there. But, I grew up in Miami, so I'm just fortunate to be able to come back and visit every now and then and see some friends and get to touch the sand and every now and then see like, oh my gosh, look how much the city is changing. And they're finally doing technology. 25 years ago, was it 25 years? How many years ago? 22, no, it's more than that. So let's see, 20, that would have been 95, no, 96. So 26 years ago, I was pitching the Miami Economic Development Board and Dade County and Miami Beach at various times on an initiative to make technology a major development plan for South Florida. And of course, they chose to do international finance back then. But it looks like now with Mayor Suarez and a bunch of other folks that they've kind of changed gears and you've got like a real tech interest going on down there now, eh?
Yes, we're very much into tech down here, and you know that you came. I remember us doing that whole. It was for Sephora beer, actually. They donated the beer for our events, and it was we called it. And, Demi actually made a whole video out of it, the sake bomb. And Sephora USA actually talked about that project because it only cost them like what, like two cases of beer. And
Oh,
we
that's
were,
phenomenal.
yeah, and you guys were there, and we had a really fun event. But they still talked about it. They said that didn't cost them anything. They got a lot more brand recognition through that initiative than they did on anything that they paid for. So I don't think I never got a chance to even share that with you because they emailed me and
No,
thanked
I
me.
never heard that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
they thanked me for it. I was just like, okay. And they said that, it's a project that they didn't expect nothing out of it, and that's what sold them for social media. I,
Cool.
so I have to find
We
the
had
email
we,
and I'll
we
forward
had a
it.
similar experience working with Lenovo. Our good friend David Sherbuck was one of the VPs of, I guess, North American marketing for Lenovo at the time. And he had done this big thing. In fact, he was one of the very early pioneers in online customer support through social media. And what turns out to be a pretty famous dude now, Rick Clow, had problems with his Lenovo laptop and he was heading to a big conference and he couldn't get through to tech support. He couldn't get anything going, and he just tweeted about it, like how he pissed off. David happened to see the tweet. He at the time he was working at an early social media startup, so it wasn't like he was a no one. He was known, but anyway, saw the tweet and got him a laptop shipped to him next day. And that became like one of the first online customer support stories. And it was really about him avoiding another Dell hell was that headlines at the time. But David brought us in to help work with some programs with him at CES, the big annual consumer electronics show in Vegas. And we worked on an activation with him. They had put their normal conference booth into a restaurant. And by pulling people together there and bringing all the right people, apparently they got so much extra coverage. CES is a big show in the beginning of January every year. A lot of noise, a lot of announcements for new products and everything. But because of all the bloggers and everyone that came in there, the chairman of Lenovo actually came back and said, "This was a massive success. We're so proud of you." And I can't remember what the number was, but I believe he like tripled the budget that they were spending on CES as a result of that. And it became one of the biggest activations. And they ended up working with all of their different partners and sales programs. And, we've been very fortunate to be catalysts at very early events. And, that's what we're seeking to do here again, right? It's actually recognizing those key elements of the moment and then bringing a positive human intentionality into the heart of it. And in that way, shaping the outcomes to bring together great people, just like you've been doing with AWCS, right?
Yep, AWCSF, yes. And,
Okay.
and let me ask you
WCS.
something like the moment that you and Christy, you guys sat down, you came up. I didn't realize the different name of Social Media Club. When you guys came up with it in 2005, how long did it take for actually you finally realize, oh my gosh, this type of communication is actually everyone's going to be using this? I mean, did you think that this was going to happen?
Oh, that was instant. And that's actually why we did it. And again, the reason why coming out of our, as we say, working retirement here up in Lake Tahoe, that's a way, by the way, for us to not get lumped into all those remote workers who are destroying the mountain village and turning it into a Zoom town. So we call ourselves early or working retirees. But the reason why we did it back then is the same as now. The world's about to change in a major way, and indeed it has in some ways already, just as it did before. But I was on a very early social network way before Facebook, one called Rise, RYZE. That's way before Friendster as well, and many of the others. And so I had already kind of seen the power of that. And really, my first company down in Miami that I started was called Virtual Community Network, based on Howard Rheingold's book describing his experience in the 70s on dial-up modems. So this is all just a furthering and a simplification and a wider distribution of communications technologies. And in that way, it has been shaped through various design decisions over the years. Like, for instance, one that we're all pretty familiar with here from Twitter, the decision to put follower count as a big, bold first metric that you really see. And that it creates a whole bunch of neuroscience and other sorts of elements that influences behavior in ways that we often don't understand until after we actually see the results. But now we do have a lot of lessons. We do have a lot of stuff to base our future designs on. And that's what we want to do here now with Web 3.1. And